As you've learned, plants need certain elements to live to complete their life cycle. So their organic mass comes from CO2 to fix the carbon, and that comes from the air. Water is transpired, oxygen transpired, CO2 goes out here, oxygen enters from the soil through the roots, and water. So more than 50 chemical elements have been identified among the inorganic substances in plants, but not all of these are essential. So a chemical element is essential if it is needed to complete the life cycle of the plant. So here researchers are using hydroponic cultures. So in a hydroponic culture, plants are grown in mineral solutions without soil. One use of hydroponic culture is to identify essential elements in plants. So here is the control on the left, the solution containing all the minerals, and on the right, a solution without potassium. So if the omitted mineral is essential, such as potassium mineral deficiency symptoms occur, which is exhibited here, such as stunted growth and discolored leaves. So, by definition, it would not be able to finish its life cycle with a deficiency of potassium. Oxygen, carbon, nitrogen are the three main elements, and 9 of the essential elements are called macronutrients because plants require them in large amounts. Okay? So, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and sulfur. Okay? So the basic unit of fertilizers are nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. Okay, these are symptoms of mineral deficiency in plants. So the most common deficiencies are those of nitrogen deficiency down here, chlorosis, potassium, and phosphate. So in phosphate deficient plants, you can see this reddish type of margin developing, reddish purple on young leaves. And potassium deficient maize plants exhibit that's phosphate deficient. These exhibit like a drying out, potassium deficient, or firing along the tips and edges of the older leaves. And then nitrogen deficiency, yellow, it permeates throughout, as evidence in a yellowing that starts at the tip and moves through the center of older leaves. So if we see this in a plant, this is chlorosis. It's a symptom of one of these deficiencies. So soil quality is also very important. It's a major determinant of plant distribution and growth. So you have to have proper climate. You have to have soil texture, proper soil texture, so that there's enough oxygen in the soil, and composition of the soil are major factors determining whether a plant will grow well in a certain location. So texture is the soil's general structure, okay, whether it's sandy, clayey, loamy. Composition is the soil's organic, dead plant and animal matter, and inorganic minerals, chemical components. So here, digging down, you can see the different layers of soil. So the A, B, and C horizon. So the A horizon is the topsoil. It's a mixture of broken down rock of various textures, living organisms, and decaying organic matter, decaying plants and animals, dead plants and animals. The next horizon, so that's the topsoil, the next horizon is the B horizon. Contains much less organic matter than the A horizon and is less weathered because it's deeper. And then the C horizon, down here, composed mainly of partially broken down rock, serves as the parent material for the upper layers of the soil. Okay? So humus and loam are the most fertile and loam for the topsoil is equal amounts of sand, silt, and clay. And the topsoil and other distinct soil layers or horizons can be seen in this vertical profile. So after a heavy rainfall, water drains from larger spaces in the soil, but smaller spaces retain water because of its attraction to clay. Okay, because water is a polar molecule. So, and here's the soil particle that is negative. So the film of loosely bound water is usually available to plants. So here's soil particles surrounded by film of water, root hair, water available to plant. These are air spaces. And so here's the root hair, and going out of the root hair, carbon dioxide combines with the water. Here making carbonic acid, disassociates hydrogen, calcium, magnesium, potassium. So which are more likely to be leached from the soils by heavy rains? Anions, negative particles, or cations, positive particles? So it'd probably be anions because the soil is negative itself. So cations, the positive, are bound to these negative charges. So they would be less likely to be lost with heavy rains. So in contrast with natural ecosystems, agriculture a lot of times depletes the mineral content of soil, taxes water reserves, and encourages erosion. So the goal of soil conservation strategies is to minimize this damage. In the 1930s, agriculture, they planted the same crops over and over and over again, and so mineral content was depleted, and then there was a drought and plants wouldn't grow, so that was the Great Dust. So fertilizers are chemicals that contain, chemically bought fertilizers that contain minerals that are mined, or they can be prepared by industrial processes. So most the cheaper fertilizers are prepared by industrial processes. The organic fertilizers are more expensive, more friendly to the soil. They're composed of manure, fish meal, or compost. So the goal is to reduce fertilizer use. So agricultural researchers are developing ways to maintain crop yields while reducing fertilizer use. So these genetically engineered smart plants inform a grower when a nutrient deficiency is imminent. Okay, so no phosphorus to well-developed phosphorus deficiency. So these plants have been genetically modified to signal when this deficiency might be occurring. So for example, this research plant develops a blue color in response to an imminent phosphate deficiency. So it can be added. Irrigation is important. It's a huge drain on water resources when used for farming in arid regions. And a lot of irrigation can chill makeup of soil by a lot of runoff. Topsoil from thousands of acres of farmland is lost to water and wind erosion each year. So precautions such as this contour tillage can prevent a lot of this runoff because it will not be blown away or washed away. And these crops in Wisconsin are planted in rows that go around instead of up and down. So this goes against gravity, so it helps slow water runoff and topsoil erosion after a heavy rain. Soil management, the goal is sustainable agriculture. It's a commitment embracing a variety of farming methods that are conservation-minded. So everything is talking about sustainable agriculture now, where chemicals are not put on the crops. There's rotation of crops. There is minimum watering, etc. Soil reclamation. Some areas are not fit for agriculture because it's been contaminated with toxic pollutants. So phytoremediation is a biological non-destructive technology that reclaims these contaminated areas. And there is a plant called alpine pennycress that takes advantage of some ability of some plant species to extract heavy metals, such like this alpine pennycress and other pollutants from the soil, and then they concentrate them into easily harvested portions of the plants, not planes, of the plants. So this alpine pennycress can grow on the toxic soil, take the pollutants out, and then this is harvested and thrown out, disposed of. Nitrogen is often the mineral that has the greatest effect on plant growth. Plants need nitrogen as a component of proteins because nitrogen makes up amino acid, nucleic acids, chlorophyll, and other important organic molecules. So nitrogen-fixing bacteria is very important. They discovered this in the 1920s. Converts atmospheric nitrogen, because our atmosphere is 88% nitrogen, to nitrogenous minerals that plants can absorb as a nitrogen source for organic synthesis. So this improves the protein yield of crops. Agriculture research and plant breeding has resulted in new varieties of maize or corn, wheat, rice that are enriched in protein. So this can address human malnutrition or protein deficiency, improving the crop yield of crops, the protein yield with nitrogen. So two relationships plants have with other organisms that are mutualistic, where they benefit each other. Symbiotic nitrogen fixation involving roots in bacteria, which we'll go into, and mycorrhizae, which is a type of fungus which also involves the roots, coats the roots for greater surface area. So symbiotic relationship with nitrogen-fixing bacteria. This is special bacteria that fixes nitrogen from the soil, provides some plant species with a built-in source of fixed nitrogen. So plants in the pea family do this, legumes. For agriculture, the key symbiosis between plants and nitrogen-fixing bacteria occur in the pea family or legume family, beans and other similar plants. So, like soybeans, there's crop rotation. So you plant plants one year that will introduce nitrogen back into the soil, and then the next year you use another crop, and then you rotate back so that the soil is not depleted of nitrogen. Okay, so this is nitrogen fixation. So here is a pea plant, and these nodules here are special swellings, and they are composed of plant cells that are infected. Okay, but infected in a good way by rhizobium, a type of bacteria that fixes nitrogen from the air and soil. So they fix nitrogen and obtain photosynthetic products supplied by the plant. So here are bacteroids in a soybean root nodule. So a cell from a root nodule of soybean is filled with bacteroids in vesicles. The cells on the left are uninfected. Okay, so these are infected, nitrogen-fixing bacteria, mutualistic, these are not. So this is a cross-section of a root nodule. Rhizobium bacteria assume a form called bacteroids, okay, which are contained within vesicles formed by the root. So the bacteria of a root nodule obtain sugar from the plant, and in turn they give the plant fixed nitrogen. So it's mutualistic.